Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so delighted to introduce my guest today, Roxana Radulescu. Roxana is the founder and chief game changer of All Personal, a Canadian leadership consulting company. Roxana is known by many as the go-to expert that helps new millennial leaders become dream bosses and build dream teams. She works with millennial corporate mid-managers and small business CEOs to help them build top-notch people leadership skills, knowledge, and strategies so that they can confidently fast-track their journey to becoming dream bosses and building dream teams. Unlike other people leadership programs that focus on top executives, Roxana's programs focus on millennials who are at the beginning of their people leadership journey. Roxana has over 10 years leadership experience in top international law firms and 4 years experience in creating programs for and consulting new and developing leaders. She is also a TEDx speaker, certified learning and development and HR professional, master coach, online and classroom course designer and facilitator, podcast, and live show host. Please join me in welcoming Roxana Radulescu from Toronto. Welcome, Roxana.
Wow. Thank you, Tammy. Thanks for having me here. So good.
It is. It's great to have you. And I had the joy and pleasure of being hosted by you on your podcast recently. So it's fun to see you again and have a chance to learn more about you. So as you know, on Work from the Inside Out, we love to talk about people's journeys in their careers. And we all started somewhere. Take us back to some of those earlier years. Where did Roxana begin? How did she build up to this go-to expert and become helping others to be, find their dreams?
Wow, I love this question. And because first of all, I absolutely agree. It is all about becoming someone that you always dreamed you could be. Mm-hmm. And it all starts right there, back when we were kids and dreaming of, when I grow up, I want to be this, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I came from, I'm originally from Bucharest, Romania, which is Eastern Europe. So it's former communist bloc. And I spent my first 12 years in communism. So a lot of that meant that you actually couldn't be who you wanted to be because you had to conform to a specific way of being. That was the only way that was accepted, where everybody was supposed to be equal. But, as we all know,
right.
From the novel 1984, sometimes others are more equal than others.
It's a different definition of equal, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's equal, but just some people have more privileges. So I grew up in that kind of conformity environment. And I was very, very shy as a kid as well. So I would rarely speak. Actually, when I started my first grade, I went in my first grade with such a bad reputation from kindergarten. And I was actually...
You had a bad reputation. Wait a minute. You had a bad reputation from kindergarten?
Yeah, because the kindergarten teacher was creating and drawing this report about all of the kids, and they were saying stuff about them that the teacher in the first grade in school would know. So I was categorized as antisocial.
Oh.
Which is, I mean, I didn't know that at the time. My mom told me that when I grew up, but I can see why, because I would I never made any friends when I was in kindergarten. So that was that kind of
you weren't just quiet. It sounds like you were somewhat kind of reserved.
Yeah, very reserved. I didn't like it. To be honest, I hated it. I hated going there. Like I was at home with my I didn't like going to, because I was at home until I was 5 with my grandparents. So imagine at 5, you suddenly have to go to prep school. I mean, why?
Right.
I couldn't understand.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then as I started school in my primary years, I started to I went on summer camps. My parents used to send me. And I still remember the first time I came home from the first summer camp I ever went to. My mom said, "Oh my God, I never heard you talking so much in my entire life." And I was like, "Oh, okay, something's going on here."
Uh-huh.
So, and I was fascinated. I started to become fascinated about how all of these other kids who were more social and more open, I was observing them a lot, because I was in my head, I was wondering, how do they do it? What's going on? How can they be so open and so friendly and speak a lot and make so many friends and be so popular? So that was fascinating to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was all alone in my room at home, I was popular as well. Actually, my main form of learning was I was aligning my dolls on the bed and I would be teaching them. That was how I used to learn.
Wow.
So that was, that made me feel good. But then I started to make more friends and be more communicative. And
do you know what kind of switched that around for you? Do you know?
I think it was also because the way that school used to run in that communist period was that the teacher was the master. So, and because they were the master, if you were a good kid, then that would be all right for you. But if you, let's say, forgot to do your homework, or you didn't know the answer to the question that they were asking you, that would cause problems.
Or if you didn't answer their question, right?
Or if you didn't answer their question, and I could see a lot, and that meant that you were either the good kid on the block, or you would be in that category where no matter what you did, you wouldn't get out of that category of this kid is bad and they don't do their homework and they don't learn. So, and that created those almost, groups of, okay, we're in this group together and we have each other's back.
Yeah.
And we're all in this together because, and we're also pulling each other up just in case.
Interesting. So you kind of bonded with the other bad kid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but you had to have this kind of group so that you feel safe, because you never knew when your teacher might, turn around and say, "Hey, you," and then they would pick on you, and sometimes they would just also scream at kids, and that was a very, if I think about it now, it was a very traumatic period.
No, it is. I look, I remember when I was, very young, the way teachers treated kids was a very different era, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then as I grew up in my teen years, as communism fell and we started to suddenly have access to, for instance, MTV. I don't know how many people who are listening today remember the MTV.
Yeah, sure.
something. And I grew up being in that MTV generation, and I grew up wanting to be a VJ on MTV at some point. So that was constantly in my head. And then I remember as I went to high school, I wanted to actually, I was thinking of becoming a lawyer. So I wanted to pass the exam for the law faculty. And my mom said, no, that's not for you. Because you can't be talking to criminals all day. Obviously, like, at that point, we didn't know that there was such thing as, business law,
right?
Which doesn't require you to talk to criminals all day.
What made you interested in? So were you still a teenager when you were thinking about these things?
I was in high school.
Oh, so you expressed your interest to your mom, and she said, you don't want to be around criminals all day. But what got you interested in law as a teenager?
I was thinking, I would be fighting for justice. I would be fighting to, help those people who cannot help themselves one way or another. So that was, and also the movies, right? When you have movies like series like Ally McBeal and all that kind of stuff, that kind of inspires you.
Yeah.
But
so your mom talked you out of that.
Yeah, she did. But then, funnily enough, I studied foreign languages and literatures, philology. And when I finished university, I started working for an international law firm, but I was on the admin side of things because I wasn't a lawyer. But it's interesting because my whole career starting in that law firm, it brought me to actually create learning programs for law professionals, for legal professionals, right? So it was, when I realized that I kind of always wanted to be, I was passionate about teaching, as I was always teaching my dolls in my room as a kid.
Right,
and then I wanted to become a lawyer. And then I actually became the learning and development person in an international law firm, which was fascinating because it was everything that, I kind of wanted to do. I was at the intersection of that.
How did that occur? So you finished university, you studied foreign languages and literature, and then you got an administrative role at this law firm.
Yeah.
And then that evolved into a learning and development role. What kinds? It did. Yeah. What kinds of things were you training people in?
So I started with IT training, and I was doing a lot of, induction training for people who were new with the firm and stuff like that. So I was taking them through all the systems and everything.
Yeah.
But then I created, I actually loved creating that whole program so that people can learn all the bits and pieces, and they feel comfortable using them as they start working with them. So, and then in 2008, the main firm spun off, and there were 4 offices that remained, and they formed a new law firm. And at some point, I heard the HR, the head of HR, talking to somebody on the hallway, just randomly, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna have to look for somebody for a learning and development advisor because we are really keen on keeping the learning culture and creating programs within the firm." And I heard her, and I remember I went to her, and I said, "Look, I think I can do this. I heard you talking about it, and I think I can do this. I would love to do it. So if you think I'm a right fit, I would be absolutely happy to take over the role." And I remember that she was looking at me. I couldn't believe I did that. Like, that's the first time ever that I ever did that. But she looked at me and she said, "That makes so much sense. Why didn't I think about it?"
Oh,
yes. All right. Now we're talking. So that's when I actually started my learning and development career, and I started to get I studied to get my certifications in learning and development and in HR, and I started to put together the technical programs for the lawyers, and I was building them with the more senior lawyers in the firm, and also the what we call the soft skills, which is all
right.
The management skills,
The important skills, I call them.
Exactly. These are the essential ones, right?
Right.
So, and that, yeah, it was a very, I don't know, a very beautiful journey for me. And I did that for, so 2008 up until 2017 when we left Romania and we moved to Canada.
I see. Okay. So the move to Canada, now this was an international law firm. Was it you weren't able to continue your work with them, or no?
No, I wasn't, because they didn't have an office in Canada. Although, funnily enough, again, all sorts of funny things happening, because the main managing partners of the firm were also two Canadians. So when they heard I was moving to Canada, they were like, "Oh my God, no way! Where are you going?" And then it is funny, and I realize there's, like these bits and pieces that sometimes escape us. Like they escape me. I just had to look back to understand how they all connected, because at that point they just didn't stand out.
Yeah. So it's really interesting how you navigated these transitions, and how it just felt, it sounds like it was kind of a blend of kind of listening to your inner voice in some ways, right? Following the things that you really enjoyed doing, being maybe a little bit scared, taking some chances and saying, you know what, I'm on a learning curve here, but I think I can do this. And I know that it's something I would really like to try. I think I would enjoy it. I've enjoyed what I've done so far, and putting yourself out there. It takes some courage, but it also, if you don't do it, you always wonder, what if, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what always drove me, to be honest, if I think about it, because the whole, like, even today, I'm thinking about, what if I never said, hey, I wanted to take the L&D role, for example.
Right.
What would have happened then? And then I always I love change. I'm comfortable with change. And I think this is one of my drivers, because I always see new possibilities and how we can do things differently. So change didn't scare me, or it scared me less than being stagnant.
Right.
That's the balance for me.
Well, because for you, things not changing means stagnation. Whereas I think for other people who are afraid of change, things staying the same means safety, stability, comfort, For you, it means discomfort, so we all have our own perceptions of what all these things mean. And so once you landed in Canada, what happened? What did you do professionally? Did you know ahead of time what your plans would be?
Well, I already had my website. It wasn't created, but I had bought the domain. So I was thinking already about doing something with what I knew online. And I remember I was telling somebody, I want to do coaching online. And I still remember her saying, well, good luck with that, because people don't really like to be coached online. And then But then, with the pandemic, now everybody is online. But
they were doing it before too.
I know, exactly. But I kind of knew what I wanted to do.
So you knew
and
you
then I was
do something on your own versus go and find a job somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe could you do that moving from Romania to Canada?
Well, yeah, it was very easy. I mean, I was looking for a job because we needed the money to be able to survive.
Yeah.
But then in the meantime, I was registering my business. It just for me, it was fascinating also how easy it was to do it compared to back in Romania, where it's so complicated because it's so bureaucratic. Here it's they encourage you to do it. Come on, we can support you to do it because you're going to produce something, right? So that makes sense. And then I started to, and again, it wasn't easy, but it was this kind of drive. I still remember that I was thinking, I didn't come all the way here to do the same thing that I've always done. I want to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I started to send out cold emails offering my services to training companies here in Toronto. And at some point, somebody answered, and I started to do training sessions for them, for their clients. And then I slowly started to build my own client roster and delivering workshops and coaching, and it grew slowly but surely. And since I've been doing this full time since the end of 2019.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. And with COVID and everything, that didn't make things any easier.
It didn't. I feel I've been living from one transition to another for the past, I don't even remember how many years.
Yeah.
This has been a constant in my life.
But when I hear you say it took a long time, I'm thinking you moved in 2017. You started cold calling places to pick up some contract work, which was, bold in and of itself. I think I know lots of people with similar credentials who I'm not sure would even have thought of sort of cold calling like that, but maybe they would have. I'm not sure about that. And, within 2 years, you were able to really go fully on your own. To me, that's not a long time. That's a relatively short-ish time, because it takes, especially when you're, I think they, whoever they say, it takes 2 years to, start a business. But 2 years, maybe in the context of being in a community or a city where you already live, you're doing this in the context of a place where it sounds like you didn't really know anyone. So
I didn't.
So I think that's a whole different formula, a whole different equation. So to me, that sounds like you were extremely successful getting that going. And now here we are in late-ish 2021, and still in the middle of this pandemic in many ways, and things are continuing to keep you very busy, from what I understand. And since then, you've done a TEDx. Tell us about the TEDx talk that you did.
Oh, that was such a wonderful experience. And that was also in 2017. So that was, I'd had it in my mind for a while though. Maybe it was my dream of becoming that VJ on MTV as I was a teen. But you change and we change as depending on what we do, depending on what we regularly do. That's why I always say our skills are just like muscles, because the more regularly we use them, the more they grow and the stronger they grow and the better they can support us in whatever it is that we need to do. I mean, I would never have imagined I would be doing any kind of public speaking if you asked me, even
especially
as I was
if you asked the 5-year-old you.
Exactly. For sure not. No way. But because I had to deliver a lot of those programs that I was designing, and I was traveling from one office to another in different countries and talking to people that had never met me before, I'd never met them. And that was another form of public speaking. But I realized even if I was an introvert, and that's why I fight with a lot of people on this, because introverts make such great public speakers as well. Like a lot of them, because they are so passionate. And when they talk about something they're passionate about, they can talk about it for ages.
Yeah.
So that to me was kind of going to the gym. The prep. I had to do a lot of public speaking in one way or another. And that actually made me think, and I was, of course, watching a lot of TEDx and TED Talks, and I always wanted to do that. So when we came here, I think also it's the environment that always inspires you and supports you. You know when you're in the right environment, you know when you fit. And you're no longer the odd one out, but you find that you can go for the dreams, or you can go for trying to make those dreams happen. And I found myself just searching for TEDx events and looking for ways I didn't know what it took to get a TEDx event. So I started to do my research and I applied for a bunch of them. And they replied to me, like, again, somebody replied and say, hey, we want to know more about your talk and see how it fits with our theme. So we had a conversation, and then they said, okay, we'd be happy to have you. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going. It was October 2017. So I went. It was like 2 hours away from where I'm in towards the south border with the US.
Oh, was it in the US or in Canada?
No, it was in Canada.
It was. Okay.
So, but it was such a great experience. And I remember they were so welcoming, and it felt so good to be like that whole day. I remember it so vividly. And I was lucky that my talk was in the morning at around 10 a.m. because then I could just sit down and watch all of the other TED Talks.
Yeah.
And I felt so good about it. And I was, thirsty for everything that I was hearing. And all of my senses were so alive. It was an amazing experience. And I made some great connections that lasted until this day.
Oh, that's a really good point. I think that's something that people probably don't realize, that when you do a TEDx, you do, they work with you ahead of time too. It's not just that you show up one day and give a talk and leave. You really do develop relationships as a result of being involved with that. So what's the title of your TEDx talk?
Oh, how our skills muscles help us deal with change.
Nice. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
We'll have to include a link to your TEDx in the show notes. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. How our skill muscles
help us deal with change.
Help us deal with change. Nice.
Yeah.
I
I
love it.
remember I was rehearsing then because you do the rehearsal the evening before.
Yeah.
And then I was rehearsing, and you know what? You realize there's all sorts of things. Again, there's things that you don't know about. And I remember the bright lights shining from in front of me, and I couldn't focus. And I realized, oh, if I had to do the talk now, I wouldn't remember what I had to say.
You're supposed to.
Exactly. So I went back to my hotel room that evening, and I started to rehearse. And we had two bedside lamps, and I put them. I directed them towards my face, and that's how I rehearsed.
Wow, that's a great idea.
Yeah, just to get used to that bright light and not being able to see. And actually, you can't see much. You can't see the room. You just feel the room.
Yeah.
You only see the first maybe one or two rows in front of you.
Yeah. Wow. So from there, you built your practice, your coaching, your teaching, and how did you decide to focus on millennials? What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, it's a good question actually, because you know how it is when you start your own thing, you know how, again, they say that you should be focusing on a niche and what's your niche. And then I realized, like, all of these people that have been my clients so far, they were all in this category. They were, and it didn't matter that they were coming from the corporate world or a small business who wanted to scale their team and needed me to help them with that. They were all in this category, and they all were saying to me, we don't have, Roxana, we don't have people skills. Like, we have to build a team. We have to grow a team. We have to lead a team. We don't have people skills, and we don't even know where to start. So that's, we met in the middle, I think. And so that made sense. Okay. And I'm also fascinated by how they changed the way that we perceive the workplace, how they brought what we call the work-life balance. But I don't like to call it that way, because actually work is part of life, and we're not dead at work. Work is work. Yes, home is home, but that's all part of our life. And we do need the balance between work and home, absolutely. But we need to also include everything in how we want to live our life. And doesn't make sense. And I think this is a generation that brought this discussion in the boardroom.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love it because they also inspire the future generations. And I have two teens at home that are in the Gen Z generation.
Yes.
And they're all about purpose and feeling that they contribute to the greater good. They're not gonna resonate with a 9-to-5 job, and it's just a job that pays the bills. They will always have to do something, at least something on the side, that makes them feel fulfilled.
Yeah. 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 That's helpful. Tell us about your global online program, the Lead for Legacy League. Tell us about that.
It's a tongue twister.
The Lead for Legacy League. I can't say that 10 times fast.
Right? But it's, it came especially from this need of helping these people who are at the beginning of their leadership journey, helping them feel supported. Because what I find is that a lot of the times, especially in large corporations, the mid to senior managers are the ones who are mostly ignored when it comes to personal and professional development. And they're right there in the middle, they're boots on the ground. They do need a lot of knowledge and skills and help to be able to help to lead their teams. They don't, it's impossible to manage people, but it is possible to create an environment where people feel they can manage themselves. So that's why I don't believe in one-off training sessions, because I've done a lot of those and I know that they don't work. Because
if you want,
I mean, that's not going to work ever, because we're not cars that need to go to the car shop to be fixed, right? It's not, a training session is always going to be the beginning of the learning journey.
Yeah.
And what you do afterwards, that's going to make the difference. How you implement, how you do things, how you change behavior. And behavior never changes overnight. So that's why I wanted to create a program where they get the learning, where they get some of the technical knowledge that they need to be able to lead people in teams, but also where they can support each other, where they can ask questions, where we can meet and actually talk about real life situations where they need to apply the learning on the job. Because it's this kind of real time help that it's very hard to find. So that's why I wanted to create a place also where it's safe for them to discuss challenges and to ask questions, because a lot of them, they've just been promoted. So if you've just been promoted to lead a team, how are you going to ask for help? Because you're going to think, oh, I've just been promoted, so because I'm good at it.
Right.
So how comfortable do I feel in asking for help now that I'm actually in the role?
Yeah. That's a big problem.
That environment, it is, because they never do, and not inside an organization anyway.
Right.
Because that's tough.
Yeah, no, I think this is very important. Tell us a little more about the way the Legacy League, how is that structured?
Mm-hmm.
Is there actual instruction involved with it, or is it more like structured as a community, or do you or a mastermind? How do you how do people get engaged with it? And if some of our listeners are interested, how would they get engaged with it? Or is it that you open it up at certain times, or can anyone get involved with it at any period of time?
So I've been changing it. It's a combination of these. So we have online courses that are on, you basically get access to the platform, where you get some online courses that have to do with like emotional intelligence, listening, coaching skills for managers, time and project management.
Right.
And you also get templates on, for instance, if you're looking at bringing more people on the team, looking for those interview skills and what kind of questions you can ask, information about how you can motivate and engage your team. So it's, and these are courses that you can do at your own pace. But what we also do is we have weekly group meetings that are live, where we discuss, for instance, last week it was all about building your team. So we have themes for each of these meetings. Mm-hmm. One of them is, how do you build your leadership profile? So what do you need to do to become a more confident more confident in your leadership abilities? How do you then raise that profile? How you expand that circle of influence? And then what it is you can do to build that dream team. So we go and discuss, and then everybody brings their own questions, and we have hot seats, and they can give each other's ideas about one situation or another, or solutions. So that at the end of that session, they can go away and implement that in their work, with their team. And we also have each week drip content. So we have a group, a community and we communicate offline from one week to the next. So I always put the links to, for instance, we just finished the emotional intelligence course because one of the challenges that these people have is time.
Right.
And I find that even if they have access to the learning content, sometimes also giving drip content that is more structured like that helps in having more valuable conversations, and it helps them stay on track as well. So we have that community support topped by the learning elements. And this is the kind of learning that I absolutely believe in. And so far, I've kept it open. What I'm going to do starting next year is I'm going to open it every 3 months. So I'm going to do it quarterly based so that we can keep everybody on track even better. And so that we can have and deliver more value to the members, because it's 90 days, it's focused, they get to see results, they get to set outcomes, work towards them, and get to measure that kind of transformation.
I see. So so you have people can sign up and be involved for 90 days, and then if they want to, they can renew for another 90 days?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
They can.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Anything else with that people should know about?
For now, this is, so the plan is we're going to start with 90 days next year. If you want to try it out this year, you can go month by month and see how that's maybe a fit for you. I don't know, because it's always about finding the right fit, because not everybody is going to be the right fit for you, right? I really believe in that. The training and coaching, they are personal, because it's all about your personal transformation. So you have to find the right fit for you.
That's right.
So you still have the chance to try it out on a month by month.
Oh, okay. I see. So if people want to find out more about this, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I also they can contact me and we can have a chat, no strings attached. I can tell you more about it. I will also send you a link. Maybe you can put a link to it where they get more details about how it works. Yeah. And anybody interested, reach out and let's have a virtual chat.
And would most of that be on your website at personalskillscoach.com? Would all of that be accessible there?
Yeah, great. I do have all the info right there. Yeah.
And your podcast, tell us about that.
The podcast is, that for me it's my passion project. And because I believe everybody has a story to tell, and I think we can inspire each other. Yeah. So I talk to people who are passionate about what they do and about their own journey of discovering what their skills muscles are and how they help them along their personal and professional journey. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you on the podcast as well. So that's a must listen episode, by the
way. Oh, thank you so much. And where can people find the podcast? What is the podcast called?
The podcast is called All Personal. I also have a tab on my website, so you can check it out there. Great. But you will find it on all the podcast platforms. It's on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, everywhere you're listening to your podcast.
Everywhere you can find your podcasts. That's right.
Exactly. You know the drill.
Well, Roxana, it sounds like you are doing a lot of different things. And I get it, because you like change and you like variety. It's very clear. Is there more? Is there anything else we need to cover here today? Did we cover it all?
No, I think we covered it.
We did.
That's
Oh,
good.
okay. Good. So then I have one last question for you.
Sure.
So if you were to give somebody, and maybe we would focus this on millennials since that's your specialty group, but probably this would apply to most people. If you were to give someone one piece of advice about making a transition, a career transition, whether it be just changing jobs or maybe changing careers altogether, but what would be one piece of advice that you would give them?
Well, it will always depend from one person to the next, but with any kind of transition, what I find, and I love this quote, and probably this is what the best that I can share on the topic is, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. And
all right.
I really love this Henry Ford quote because it really is helpful, especially in transition, where the emotional toll is higher than usual. So that's what's kept me going time and time again.
I love that. That makes so much sense. Well, Roxana, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a joy and a pleasure. I love your energy and all that you're bringing to the world.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Thanks for having me. It was such a great conversation.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Roxana Radulescu. It was so interesting to speak with her and learn about her personal and professional journey. What is your key takeaway from our interview? If you are interested in any of the resources mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them on the blog page of my website at tammygulerloeb.com. Just look for episode 154. Are you anticipating your next professional move? Perhaps you're feeling just a little stuck. Stay tuned for my new book, Work from the Inside Out, Break Through 9 Common Obstacles to Design a Career that Fulfills You. It'll be available in January 2022 in print and digital ebook editions through my website, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and independent bookstores. If you were inspired by this episode with Roxana, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And please subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find at my website, tammygulerloeb.com/podcasts. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.